Hi everyone, welcome to Narc Shield. My name is Jennifer. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Today I'm going to do a makeup video where I was talking about the Joker last week, and I am also going to add in talking about Ted Bundy. I did a video and it did not upload and I lost it, so here we go. We're gonna wing it, and so here we go, talking about Ted Bundy right now. So there is this documentary that I watched on Amazon Prime, and it is called, let's see, it is called Falling for a Killer, and it is his girlfriend who is in the documentary, her and her daughter. Actually, there's quite a few people in this documentary, but it's mainly her telling her story. And her name is Elizabeth Kendall, and her daughter's name is Molly. And I wanted to talk about this. I've studied and watched everything there is to know about Ted Bundy. And there's a reason that I have him in this video, and I will explain when I get on to the next person that we'll be talking about. But I wanted to talk about this particular documentary because if you have not seen it, it is the perfect example of a narcissistic relationship and how a woman or a man, anybody, she's a woman obviously, and a child can be trauma bonded to someone, and why they do things that may not make sense to other people outside of the relationship. And she explains this very well, and my heart went out to her, and I literally think her and her daughter are two of the strongest people I've ever seen. It's amazing because you can be so judged, and they know this, and it's taken them a very long time to come out and speak up. And I think they knew this was the time. It's the time when people are ready to listen and understand about personality disorders. And this just happens to be one of them. And for her to even talk about her enmeshment, her codependency, and how she dealt with the trauma bond, what was going on with her, it took a lot of strength for her to go through it, much less come back out and have to relive it again and talk about it. So I was really impressed with both of them. Ted Bundy and her dated for a very long time. I want to say between 6 and 8 years. I can't quite remember, but it was a really long time. And of course, he still kept in contact with her. And she had to call, and she tried to turn him in once, and then she checked in again. She felt her boyfriend might be somebody who was doing these bad things to women, but her cognitive dissonance was messing with her. So there was a part of her that's like, there's all this evidence that points towards my boyfriend, but I love him, and he seems like such a great guy. Everybody really likes him, including my dad. And what if he's not this bad person, and I'm feeling guilty because I'm thinking my boyfriend is doing something really bad? And so she was really confused and feeling a lot of shame and guilt around her feelings, and didn't trust her judgment, but she was really concerned, and thank goodness she really was trying to help victims, because they were a lot of them, and she really was trying to help, but there was that part of her that just didn't want to believe that her boyfriend would do that. And so every time she would say something, the cops would be like, no, we've looked into it, he's not the guy, he doesn't seem to fit the profile we're looking for. And so she would be like, oh, thank God, because it would play into that emotional thinking that she had. And she's like, okay, well, I just feel really bad that I was thinking that about my boyfriend. Oh my goodness. And so when it did happen that it came out that it was her boyfriend, she had been with him for so long and was so trauma bonded to him and felt so many different feelings going on with inside her, that she explains how she still stayed with him even when he was going to court, in the beginning stages anyway. And what she was feeling and going through. And then there is a man that worked with her, that saw her at work and the things that she was going through as well, because this Ted Bundy, he kept in contact with her, and he really played on her emotions. And Ted Bundy, he is just this normal, everyday looking guy. He was a good looking guy. He was very educated. He was very friendly, quite funny, charming. He was someone that you would never picture doing the things that he did. Now, I believe he was a psychopath, but he had high narcissistic traits. He believed his lies. He believed he could make people believe his lies. And he believed he was smarter than everybody else. He believed he was entitled to many things. He even played on the judge, and he played the media. And he even was able to manipulate some of the media into believing him. And here in the end, he really was this mass serial murderer. He was a serial killer who was preying on vulnerable victims. And he was lying to everyone. And he had this false life. So he was pretending to be somebody he wasn't, and the real person was out murdering people and preying on people. And so that takes me into talking about the Joker. So the new movie, The Joker, is out, and Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker this time. And the Joker has, I think, quite a few disorders, but I'm going to say that he has some narcissistic traits, high narcissistic traits, if not narcissistic personality disorder. And he's someone that most people would imagine being a narcissist or a psychopath or sociopath, someone that's not very nice because he looks different, he acts out, he's a little odd, a little awkward, and so when he does these weird things, it's somebody that you would picture being someone like that. And so my lesson for this video is, no, they can look just like you and I and walk right beside you and have a conversation with you, and you can hang out with them. They could be your neighbor. They could be your roommate. It's very frightening. And that's why it's important to pay attention and to have awareness on what these disorders are and what to look for, so that you don't become the next victim, or someone in your family or someone that you know. So the Joker was very enmeshed with his mother, who was a narcissistic woman. They were very enmeshed with each other, so much so I don't think he really knew where they ended and began. And he just did what she said. She basically told him who he was his entire life. And she manipulated him so that he would stay and take care of her. And he never really progressed and moved on in life. And he was very depressed, and very awkward, and he did know that he had some issues mentally, and he went to all his meetings. He took that very seriously, and he took his medication. And he knew that he was different and that people didn't really pay attention to him and notice him. And really the only person that did was his mother. And so and the counselor, that he went to get his medications, I don't believe she was a counselor. I believe, she was something like that helped him. But he just wasn't really noticed. And so he just kind of lived life and just went on with each day, but wasn't very happy. He wasn't a happy person at all. But his mother had convinced him that he should always be happy and spread happiness and laughter. And so he wanted to be a comedian, and he wanted to make people laugh. And he could see that people really responded to the comedian. So he went and he watched and he tried to mimic and mirror them, and he took notes. He wanted to be like them and get up there and make them laugh. And in his mind, he was funny and he was going to make people laugh. And he lived with his mother. What struck me is him giving her a bath even, and she could bathe herself. She could feed herself. She was not an incapable woman, but she had him doing these things for her, and he thought it was normal, and it wasn't normal at all. And she was lying to him, and I'm not going to get into the entire movie, but I will touch on some things. When he started to fall apart, one of the things that happened was the program that was helping him with his medications and, his mental disorders, they basically were dropping him. Not just him, but pretty much everybody. And so he was like, well, what am I going to do? Where do I go to get my medications? He was really concerned about this. And here he's being abandoned once again in life. And his social worker, or whatever you would call her, she was empathic to that, and she basically said they didn't care about her position either. And my heart went out to him. I felt a lot of compassion for him, even though he did some really horrible things. He was a mentally disordered person, and where was he going to get the help? And why isn't anybody noticing? Why isn't anybody paying attention to people like him? And that's how he felt. And that's how I think it is a lot of times. And I believe that people should pay attention to mental disorders. And I believe that this movie brought up a lot that should bring a lot of awareness for people to pay attention to. Because I think we, as a community as a whole, can help people so that bad things don't happen. And he just wanted to be admired and noticed, and he believed that he had what it took to do that, and he had these narcissistic traits. So he was also he had magical thinking, which is a narcissistic trait as well, and he believed that even like his neighbor and he had a relationship when they didn't, but in his mind they had this relationship, and you can see it when you watch the movie to understand what I'm saying. But he did not have that, and he imagined himself on stage and doing these comedy shows and people laughing with him and him making people happy. And then there was a moment where he noticed that one of the people that he admired, this comedian, he really admired him. So there's black and white thinking within narcissistic personality disorder. And so this comedian was in the white because he admired him so much. But then he saw on a television show on one of the comedian's shows where he was teasing this guy, and they were showing clips of him, and he was making fun of him, and it took that man into black. He took that comedian right into black, thinking he was not good anymore. So he went from good to bad, and then the comedian wanted to bring him on the show, and the Joker realized that this guy was using him to get laughs for himself. So he was using the Joker to get laughs for himself. And he was going to make a statement. And so I'm not going to talk more about the movie. I will let you guys watch that. But you can see where he has magical thinking, where he has zero empathy for his victims, and where he is grandiose and he believes that people are now noticing him. There is something I wanted to mention. When I have talked before and I've said that narcissistic people, or people with narcissistic personality disorder, don't feel love, They don't feel good feelings. They feel bad feelings. And they talk about this in the movie. This guy doesn't feel any good feelings. He feels all bad feelings. When I've talked about them not feeling love, but it's power and control and that surge of power that comes into them when they are able to control people or people, places, or things, when they can control their environments, it gives them this powerful feeling. And so when he started to act out and he started to get this powerful feeling inside of him, he was able to go on and do other things because he had this surge of power in him to go out and, in his mind, seduce, someone, or go onto stage and be that comedian that makes people laugh, or go out, when he went out into the city and went down into the train station and he saw people wearing Joker masks. He thought they were doing it for him, like admiring him. He didn't realize that it had absolutely nothing to do with him, really. I mean, there was a part of it because of what he did, but it really didn't have anything to do with him. But he felt power from that. That is narcissistic supply and what it does for a narcissistic person. It's very magical thinking. And so I wanted to make that point and hope that I get that across, especially if you go and watch the movie. And so I wanted to just let you guys know that it isn't just, the Joker looking people who are narcissists or psychopaths. There are many normal looking people walking around that look just like you and I, who are psychopaths, who have narcissistic personality disorder, or, or it's a sociopath or some other disorders mixed together. And it's very important to recognize some of these traits so that you might be able to pick up on it when you're dating, when you're hiring people, when you are in just situations out and about at a party and you're just talking to people. It's really important. And I feel like it can help save some people. And if you're in a relationship that doesn't seem right, example and that I'm giving here with the Joker and his mother, the enmeshment, he needed to be apart from her, much younger in life, so that he could move on and he could know who he was. And she kept him down. She needed him and she used him for her own benefits. And he thought that was love. And so he continued to take care of her because he needed her as well. And what she was doing to him, that wasn't love. That wasn't love. That was her using him for narcissistic supply, and it was the only narcissistic supply that she had. And the Ted Bundy, the nice-looking guy that was very educated, very charming, he was using his girlfriend. Yes, he never did lay a finger on her, but he abused her emotionally, and he also harmed her daughter emotionally and created a lot of trauma in their life because of the emotional abuse that they endured because of what he did. And he just looked like the nice guy. So those are my examples. The Joker is out. You can watch it on Amazon. I rented it from there. And you can also see the documentary called, what did I call it? Falling for a Killer, that talks about Ted Bundy and his relationship with Elizabeth Kendall. And you will be able to see these narcissistic relationships. When you watch the documentary on Ted Bundy, that is definitely a narcissistic abusive relationship, and how trauma bonds are created and what goes on within the trauma bonds. I highly recommend it if you are wanting to know what it looks like. And I just gave you a couple of examples of some of the narcissistic things that I saw within the Joker. Until next time, this is Jennifer. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe. Bye.